What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Acura NSX GT3 after the Season 8 Episode 1 handling update. I do want to take a look at many of these cars because I really do feel like many of them are actually pretty dang good. And well, guys, it does turn out some of these cars really are going to be insanely underrated. I'm going to go as far as saying the NSX GT3 is most likely going to be top 5 at the moment. From all the vehicles I have tested out, this thing is honestly incredible. Not only is it going to handle insanely well, but my goodness, the way this car can go around a corner is going to be absolutely insane, and I do feel like the NSX is going to have a different feeling around the corners, especially compared to the touring cars I have tested out so far. Now, when it comes to the top speed of this car, guys, it's going to do around 258 miles per hour, so it's definitely going to be up there at least compared to some of the other ones. I was noticing many of the touring cars tend to do like 250 to 255, so the NSX is going to be slightly faster than those, so that's at least a good thing. But I would say it's really going to come down to how these cars do handle on the tracks though. I have been finding myself wanting to use the NSX recently, but I haven't done the video on this thing, so I did want to test it out a bit more before I actually started to use it. And my goodness, guys, I really do feel like the GT3 is going to be one of the best touring cars in the game now. Like, I'm gonna go as far as saying I would probably put this car on pace with something like the Celine and or something like the Renault. Like, the Acura is going to be that good. Of course, the NSX doesn't have the crazy top speed that the Celine does, but to be honest, I would say the way this car does get around on a track, I think it's going to be slightly better in some areas. Sure, unlike the longer US Speed Tour events, you're probably going to get beaten by the Celine, but I really don't think that's going to matter all that much with the way this car does handle. I was finding myself having so much confidence around corners with this car, and I really would say, guys, I would recommend trying this thing out if you have not. Like, I really do think the Acura is going to be insanely good. What's kind of interesting is there is going to be well over 70 touring cars in the game, and after testing out about, I would say, maybe 5 to 10 of them so far, I would probably say some are definitely still going to be better than others. Even though we did get this update, I would still say some cars are still probably going to have an advantage. Like, for example, would you actually pick something like the Renault and or the Celine S7? Or would you go with something like maybe, let's say, an Alfa Romero? I would probably say a lot of players are most likely going to pick something like the Celine, and they're most likely not going to blink an eye toward one of those other vehicles. I would probably say this is going to be a bit different with the NSX though. The main reason why I say this is I was noticing with the NSX going around corners, guys, that this car just feels a lot different. Now, I'm sure some players might go, that's probably not a good thing, which honestly, in some ways, and or with many cars, it's probably not going to be, but I really do think the GT3 is going to have a big advantage around corners. The way this thing feels like it has agility going around a corner is honestly insane. You basically feel like the car can go around that corner at basically any speed, which I really do think is going to give this car a big advantage over the other ones. And of course, going around these corners at a higher speed, you're also going to have a lot more confidence, which means you're probably going to push yourself a lot more around these corners as well. And one thing I kept noticing with this Acura, guys, when going around corners is, let's say you are using one of the other touring vehicles, like maybe something like a Ferrari GT3 or something like that, and you normally do have to slow down a bit, and or if you guys are running like manual, you normally have to like downshift, and if you're going too fast entering that corner, you do tend to have to slow down and or brake. I did notice with this Acura though, when going around corners, that you can actually push this car a lot more than you think you can. I did notice, guys, around many corners that I was actually overturning on them. That's how good this car was actually gripping around these corners. Like, I could basically speed up more and or upshift and be in a different gear around certain corners compared to some other cars. I was finding myself to be a bit faster with the NSX around many of the corners, especially compared to something like the Celine, which I would say is probably going to be the main meta of the touring car class category. I really do think the NSX can easily compete with this vehicle though. As I did mention though, that lower top speed on some speed tour events might hurt it slightly, but When it comes to the regular touring car tracks though, guys, I would definitely recommend trying out the GT3. The way this car feels around corners, honestly, at the moment is going to be unmatched. I would by far pick this car over like the Renault and or like the Lamborghini Gallardo, even though the Gallardo is probably my other go-to vehicle for being one of the best in this class as well. I would highly recommend trying out this Acura, and let me know what you guys think about this car in the comments below. I really do feel like the way this car does have its stability and or handling set up now, especially after the episode 1 update, is almost going to make this car one of the best.